Have you guys ever seen the movie The Silver Lining Playbook? It had Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper in it, and I wanted to tell you guys real quick what I learned from the movie because it was really good. I think it came out like in 2012, and it was about a bipolar man who was like basically going through a divorce, but he didn't realize it because he kept trying to get his wife back. And then he meets this woman whose husband died, but she just couldn't let him go. But they both had like mental health issues and was kind of taking the same medication and trying to heal from all of their pain from their past marriages. And it was a comedy. It was actually super funny. And in the movie, like, she kept calling him delusional because he kept thinking that she was crazier than he was. Even though they both had mental health issues, he kept saying like, "You're way crazier than I am." And she was like, "You're crazy to think that I'm crazier than you." Basically, the movie was so funny. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And the reason I'm bringing the movie up is because when I was reading Proverbs 6, I think it was between verses like 16 to 19. Please read it when you get a chance because it talks about the 7 things that God detests or that the Lord really hates. And one of those things, we know lying amongst all these other things, but the first one said haughty eyes. And I didn't know what that meant. So I had to like Google haughty, and it said having a proud look or being very prideful. And I was like, yo, in the movie, he was super prideful because they both had mental health issues. But in his brain, he was so much better than she was. And he was like a better quality person in his brain. And she could never like reach his level in his head. So it was funny because he was like so prideful, like looking down on her. And I have done this in my life so many times. I didn't know this was an abomination to God to say that, when you look down on people. But apparently, if we read the Bible, it's in there. And I used to be so prideful in saying that I would never date a man who was like a felon or had a history with the law. And me being a woman of color is like kind of, funny to say that because not every man of color has a record, of course not. But a lot of people that have been put in bad situations, because of the past, being descendants of slaves, may have done something illegal when they was a child, or may have had behavioral issues when they were a child, or when they were in their early 20s where they're no longer that person, but they probably had a record of it. And for me to just cut off all of these people because of their past, that's me judging them and being prideful and making it seem like I'm above them because they had a record, but it's not who they are anymore. And my standard was, okay, well, if you have a record, I would never date you. The irony in it all, because I kept meeting all of these like good quality men, but they had a record. And even though it was nothing recent, it was all from their past. But I was just like, ew, like it was a turnoff to me in the sense where I just didn't want to deal with them. But when I started reading my Bible more and started learning more about Christ and how Christ forgives us and how we need not to judge and condemn others, I started to see the hypocrisy in myself and how I was judging all of these other people because they were going down a different path in life that I wasn't. Yeah, I might never have had like a record, but there's a lot of stuff in my past that I'm not proud of that I had to, ask God for forgiveness of. And just because somebody sinned differently from me in the past doesn't mean I'm better than them and I'm, higher quality than they are. And once I opened my eyes to that, I really started, praying for forgiveness for having, such a high sense of pride and for judging others. And then I had to, really look at, okay, now can I look at men as who they are today, not who they were when they were freaking 19 or 20. And I started, accepting different men. And it turned out that, those men were actually good people. And now, that I'm not single anymore and I learned from the experience, I want my sisters to have, the same experiences in a way of not judging, in a way of accepting people for who they are today, not who they used to be. And see if you get better results. And if you get a chance, watch the movie because not only is it super funny, it really could show us the hypocrisy in ourselves where somebody could be like exactly where we are, right? But then we're judging them because of how they sinned differently in the past. And we have to really stop doing that as Christians because I'm telling you, you will learn so much about yourself when you put yourselves in people's shoes and you stop judging them. So let me know if you've ever experienced this and tell me what you think. All right, guys.